Hey everyone, I'm Kate Kennedy and I'm here with day 74 of 100 Days of Kane, PA. And there are a lot of great, exciting outdoor things happening here in Kane, including a rail trail, the Knox Kane rail trail that's being developed. And today Tom Case is going to share the story of how that got started, how he got involved, and what are some things to come with that. So I'm going to go ahead and flip you around and we're going to come on over here. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Kate.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, thank you so much for taking time with us, and I'm really excited about today's stories. But first, let's start with kind of just figuring out how you even ended up in Kane, because you're not from here. So could you share where you're from and what brought you here?
Right. Yeah, originally I was born and raised in Rochester, New York, but I always found myself happy in the outdoors. So as a young kid, we had a camp in the Finger Lakes region, so I spent a lot of time there in the summers, and I think that's really what influenced me to become a forester. So I went to forestry school at the New York State Ranger School. That's part of SUNY's College of Environmental Science and Forestry out of Syracuse, and spent some time up in the Adirondacks getting my education. And after that, I was hired by the U.S. Forest Service down at Ridgeway, and I worked there for about 4 years.
Okay, so your first step into Pennsylvania, your first job here was with the U.S. Forest Service, and you were stationed in Ridgeway.
Yep.
How did you end up in Kane?
Well, I was a temporary employee with the Forest Service, and my supervisor said, you need to move along, that this isn't going to become a full-time job. You've got your experience. I'll be a good reference for you. So I applied for a job at Kane Hardwood, actually, and I didn't get it, which is kind of funny because that's where I work now. But they thought I was a little more ambitious than what they were looking for the position they were hiring, so they passed my resume along to Ed Kajancic Sr. So a couple weeks later, I ended up starting a job with Ed, and I worked there for almost 9 years.
Oh, wow. And so you were doing some forestry work for about 9 years with Ed Kajancic, and then you ended up getting a job at Kane Hardwood, Collins Pine. How did that happen?
Well, a different job came available, and it wasn't that I didn't like working for Ed. It was just an opportunity to better myself and position myself better for me and my family. And Ed understood that, and we parted on good terms. And it was 2002 I started working at Collins Pine as a forester, and now I am the land manager for the Kane Hardwood division at Collins.
So what does that mean to be a land manager?
Well, I have the responsibility of sustainably managing the forest. They have 118,000 acres in 7 counties here in northwest Pennsylvania, and myself and my team, we need to manage that land sustainably so that there's a constant flow of forest products to the sawmill to help provide for all those folks that have jobs in the sawmill.
So what does a day-to-day look like for you in that kind of job?
Well, some days I'm in the office doing planning stuff, working on the computer or mapping or whatnot, but other days I might be laying out a new road system, might be looking at areas of the forest that need management, whether it's a health issue and the forest has health issues, trying to successfully regenerate that to a new healthy forest, or maybe I'm measuring young forests that will go into our model to help us know what the future is going to hold for forest products coming off the land.
That sounds like such an interesting job. Like every day could be different, and you have to utilize a wide variety of skills. It sounds like probably a dream job for you.
Yeah, I really enjoy what I do and who I do it for.
That's awesome. And you live here in Kane. When did you move to the borough?
So in 1996, while I was working for Ed, originally I was working in Potter County for him, and as that big project wound down, I proposed to my wife, and she lived here in Kane, and so 1996 is when I moved to Kane after we got married.
So you've been in Kane since 1996, working a couple of different jobs, but mostly at Collins Pine. And outside of work, what are some of the ways that you stay busy?
Well, my wife and I both are pretty active, and we're outdoors people. We like to hike and bike and ski. So depending on what the weather gives us is what activity we're out doing. This morning we went out and did an 18-mile bike ride after breakfast.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And then you're also involved in the community. I know you're the council, borough council president. You're on the KAIDC board. And one of the things that we're going to talk a lot about today is the Tamed group. I know that you mentioned that you love bike riding, but could you kind of talk about what the Tamed group is and the story of how it came to be?
Yeah, so as the Knox and Kane went from a scenic railroad to kind of just lying dormant for a little while, then Headwaters Charitable Trust came along and decided to purchase the whole 74-mile corridor from Joe Kowalczyk. So as we saw this starting to happen here locally, I talked to a few other folks that I know enjoy rail trails. I mean, we have some really nice ones down at Ridgeway and real nice one at Westline and down at Brookville. So we decided to put together a group and take on a section of the Knox and Kane. And we thought that by doing so, we could develop it as a traditional rail trail for non-motorized use, just because it is really close to a lot of homes, even some businesses, and just a motorized trail wasn't going to be a good fit for that corridor. So we engaged Headwaters up front and said, you know, we would like to be a group to help this become a non-motorized trail through our community.
Awesome. And so the Headwaters Charitable Trust purchased the 74-mile Knox and Kane Rail Trail. And then each community has different groups that are working to get the trail maintained and up and running. And in Kane, that group is the Tamed group.
Correct.
What does Tamed stand for?
So that's an acronym for the Trail Association of the McKean Elk Divide, because the stretch of trail that we're working on is kind of straddles the county line between McKean and Elk County. So we came up with that, and then our catchphrase is, "The wilds are being tamed, come see."
Oh, I like that. Very catchy.
Yeah.
So how long is that stretch that the Tamed group is working on?
So our easement agreement with Headwaters, it covers about 20 miles, and then the borough has a separate easement agreement that covers about a half mile within the borough limits.
Okay, wow. And where is that 20-mile start and end?
So our Tamed group, we're looking at managing the section from Lance Corners and meeting up with the Mount Jewett group at that end, and then all the way down to like Russell City, and hopefully we'll be meeting up with a Forest County group down in that direction.
That's so exciting to
Yeah.
think about being connected in that large section for riding bikes, for cross-country skiing, for walking on. It's just going to be so awesome.
Right.
And a huge undertaking.
Yep.
When you first started, how did you get started? Who did you talk to? How did this group come to be?
Well, I talked a little bit to Janie French, the executive director at Headwaters, and you know, none of us have experience doing this. We have an interest in it, so we've kind of just fumbled our way through it and you know, figure it out as you go. And you know, we have officers for our group, and we have bylaws, and you know, we just, you know, we're making a go of it, just kind of as we go.
Who are some of the members that have been there from the beginning?
So myself and my wife, obviously, John and Nadine Holt have been interested right from the get-go. Kathy Gibson, Courtney D'Angelo, Michelle Rich, Judy Cook, Denny and Jennifer Peterson. So there's a good group of folks. Bob Peterson. There's a good core group we have here in Kane that are interested in seeing this be developed. And it's one of those things that I look at this as going to be an asset, not just for those of us that like to do these types of activities, but this is something, once it's developed, that truly will be another cog in our economic engine, as I can see this drawing visitors to come here to want to experience this trail. I know other trail users, when you get trails of this magnitude, they say trails over 50 miles are ones that really help bring tourists to use the trail. And you know, we get to enjoy it as part of our community on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. But if we can bring in some outside interests and outside money to come spend time in our community, you know, whether it's lodging, dining, whatever, I mean, it's just another thing that's going to help Kane shine.
Yeah, and that's great because, like you said, we can use it anytime.
Yeah.
But to attract people here to use the trail as well is going to be just another bonus.
Well, that's one of the comments my wife makes to me when we're out playing together is she goes, it's so cool that we live in a place where we feel like we're on vacation when we go out for an afternoon.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we love living here.
Yeah.
She's originally from here, and she's from the Rossman family, and I moved here in 96, and I love living here. We're not going anywhere. So that's why I've engaged the community to try and help the little bit that I can give.
Yeah, and you're definitely doing it. And one of the things that the team group did that I think is a great story to tell is worked with some high school students to do a project for the trail. Could you share that story with us?
Yeah, that was one that I wrote a grant to help us deck the bridge behind the high school over the active railroad line. And I had the idea of trying to incorporate the talents of the VOAG students and give them a real world project. So I approached Jeff Kepler when he was superintendent, and he said, he goes, I think that's a great idea. He said, let me talk to the teachers. Teachers were on board with it. They thought it was a great idea. So we got a Collins Company grant that paid for the materials. The welding fabrication kids did some metal work for some of the structure, and then the carpentry kids put some things together prefabricating for us. And then when we did the ribbon cutting, I made sure it could be a day where they were invited, and we brought them over and got to celebrate with them of the success we had. And I said to the students that day, I said, I hope you come back this summer and show your families what you helped work on, but I hope you come back in 20 years with your own kids and show them what you worked on when you were in VOAG and Kane High.
Isn't that awesome? I love that it was a collaboration that you thought to engage the students in that way, because it's a legacy that they're leaving behind now.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
They can come back and be really proud of.
And I think too I think the Collins Company Foundation really saw the strength in that application because it was a collaborative effort, getting the students involved and giving them ownership of that bridge.
Absolutely, and it's really, really well done. For those who have not been out there, it's an awesome, solid bridge that goes right over that active railroad. So right behind the high school, check it out.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, and so you guys started in 2016, have already made some progress. Are there any plans that you guys have coming up as a team group?
Yeah, actually, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing a little bit of surface work on the trail from the bridge out towards the Highland Road, so kind of towards the high school, to improve that surface because it's kind of lumpy and bumpy right now. And then beyond that, next Saturday, we're actually going to have a trail workshop where a trail building professional is going to come here and share some of his ideas about trail building. So we're going to meet there out by the high school, do that for 3-4 hours between 9 and noon-ish, and teach us how to build trail, basically, and start getting it off the ground.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful that you guys are doing this. And when you were building the bridge, it wasn't always a beautiful day.
True.
But you had some pretty dedicated volunteers.
I did. It's as we were talking about earlier, the hardy spirit of those of us that live in Kane. The one day, it was a Sunday afternoon. We're about as high as we could be off the ground. We're right over the active railroad tracks, and we're decking our way across, and it's raining out, cold and rainy. I said to the volunteers that were there, it's like, I get it if everybody's done for the day. They're like, oh, we're already cold and wet. We'll just keep going. It's like, okay, you guys are in it. I'm here to stay. So we just kept plugging away, and I think I tallied up over 500 volunteer hours into that bridge project, and I was really humbled by the people that showed up to make that happen.
It's amazing, and it's something that's great because you guys are spearheading it, and then people in the community are showing up to help.
And that's what I hope as we continue to make improvements, that people see this is becoming a reality, and it's going to be a cool asset for those of us that live here.
Yeah.
And an attraction for those that don't.
Yeah, that's awesome, Tom. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about anything we've talked about, or about why you love Kane before we wrap up?
Well, I think I tell people the best asset about Kane is the people. I really enjoy living here. I've lived several different places along my journey here, and Kane is my home, as I really plan to live out my days here in Kane.
Yeah.
I think we're blessed to. General Kane picked a good spot and filled it
Sure
with good
did.
people.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Well, thank you so much. We're so glad that you chose to make this home, and thank you for all that you do to make this a wonderful place to live.
Yep, and thanks for coming back to be part of our community.
Oh gosh, it's been my pleasure. All right. Thanks again, and thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'm so excited hearing about the plans for the rail trail. Did you guys know about that? Did you know that this was happening, that there's this 20-mile stretch that a group from Kane is working on to make it so that we can use it as a rail trail and be active on that? What do you know about it? What did you learn? What do you want to know about it? In the comments below, please write those answers down so that we can have a continued conversation about this rail trail that's coming here to Kane. Thank you again so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you again tomorrow for day 75.